On behalf of everyone at Elite Engines, drivers, start those Mazda engines.
And with that, engines come to life down here on pit lane. Pro Mazda, second rung of the Mazda Road to Indy, ready to fire things up here at Road America. Let's throw it back up into the booth with Eric Mueller for the start of Pro Mazda.
Thank you, Rob Howden. It is going to be a fantastic event. We have seen some great lap times throughout the weekend for these Pro Mazda race cars. It is a timed event. Malukas, Thompson on your front row. Let's talk about a little bit about past champions of this series, the type of driver development that this Pro Mazda division has, presented by Cooper Tires. Victor Franzoni, Aaron Talitz, Santiago Urrutia, Spencer Piggott, Matthew Brabham, Jack Hawksworth, and that is just the last 7 champions. And then you go back to Tristan Vautier, Connor Daly, Dane Cameron, Rafael Matos, Guy Cosmo, Joey Hand, Tony Buffamonte. So many names in the history of this Pro Mazda presented by Cooper Tires. This series is the future of IndyCar racing. It is the Mazda Road to Indy, and we are set for a fantastic race start here momentarily. Cars begin to roll off a pit lane behind the safety car here at the Kohler Grand Prix for 2018. Welcome to America's National Park of Speed, Road America. Fantastic racing on tap all weekend long, and thanks for joining us both online as well as here at the track. A fantastic campers all weekend. Campground is nearly full already, and it's only Friday mid-afternoon. We go racing with the Pro Mazda presented by Cooper Tires. You know, you talk about the series in general with the Road America previous track record in qualifying held by Adrian Cario, Pablo Donaso, the race record here at Road America. And we shattered that in the qualifying session as well earlier this morning. While we wait for the field to cycle underneath the Sargento Bridge on the backside of the Moraine Sweep. So the field slowly starting to get those Cooper tires all warmed up. Again, multiple divisions, multiple different types of rubber here this weekend. So different racing line, different braking points, how you cross the rubber. There's several different rubber types here this weekend, and that is going to change the complexion of the way that the race track shapes up. Corner entry is going to be a little bit different than the last time that these cars have seen the racetrack since that qualifying session. So again, row 1, David Malukas on the front row, Parker Thompson on the outside, Rinus VK in the inside of row number 2, Toby Sowery on the outside of row number 2, Scott Harrison, Carlos Cunha is row 3. Row 4, Stingray Robb, as well as Raul Guzman in that 8th starting position. We are set to go racing. Robert McGinnis, row 5. Andres Gutierrez, again, in the outside in the 10th starting position. Row 6, Oliver Askew. Had a little bit of a problem in that practice 1 this morning. Nikita Listoshkin in that 12th starting position. And just like clockwork, he is the fastest man in motorsports. Rob Howden already here to the PA booth, all the way from the front of the grid. You are unbelievably quick, my friend. I don't let you get your headset on here, but did you you obviously had a golf cart ride. Probably the fastest golf cart in Road America.
Yeah, we were hauling. There's a couple bumps on the way there. I had to hold on, that's for sure. But indeed, straight from the booth, or rather the pit lane to the booth, and getting set to go here. Drivers work their way now out of the carousel. Eric going through the grid once again. David Malukas has been impressive here this weekend, and probably shouldn't be that big of a surprise. He was strong last year in USF 2000, qualified on the pole. Impressive young driver for sure, David Malukas. Parker Thompson, your current point leader, starting in the 2nd spot. And when you come into a race like this, as we're kind of into the meat of the sandwich in terms of the season schedule, we go from here in Pro Mazda to the streets of Toronto. That's a place where Parker Thompson swept last year for Exclusive Autosports in USF 2000. So really right now, for a guy like Parker Thompson, a couple of podiums here, or at least finishing in front of those immediately behind him in the points, would allow him to stretch that lead a little bit. He's on the outside of the front row, and I think the opening couple of corners should be interesting. Drivers going to get themselves ready coming out of Billy Mitchell Bridge. or Billy Mitchell Bend now. I've been around long enough to remember the bridge. Here they come through 14 again. Malukas on the inside, Thompson on the outside. VK on the inside of row number 2, the rookie, Toby Sowery, in the number 78 for BN Racing.
Good looking form start here, Rob, as they come up the hill underneath that Verizon Wireless Bridge. These Pro Mazda cars fly around this 4-mile race circuit. Going to be a great race today.
And away we go. And ladies and gentlemen, the starter for today, Diamond Dave Dusick from Racetech Engineering. The green flag flies, and we are green, 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 racing down to turn number 1. They are 3 wide down the inside. Not a great start for Parker Thompson. He's going to be on the outside. Couple puffs of smoke there as VK gets on the brakes into turn number 1. First time under the Briggs and Stratton Bridge. Another puff coming out there as a driver drops a wheel on the exit of 1. Good start for Malukas. He'll go out into the lead. VK slots into second. I want to say Parker Thompson might have went back a couple of spots there from the outside of row number 1 under the Sargento Cheese Bridge. Everybody lining up for the first run down to turn number 5.
Yeah, turn 5 is a heavy braking area. We see a lot of braking duels, especially with these Pro Mazda cars. It's real easy to get a little bit of a brake waggle as you've got second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all underneath the blanket as they head up the hill. Your leader already out front. One of the Pelfrey cars getting out of shape in turn 5, saved it and going back up the hill here. Frenetic start here before this Pro Mazda event.
Indeed, Parker Thompson falling down back, I believe, to the 6th position. He slots in behind, I want to say, Carlos Cunha. Not a great start from the outside of row number 1 for Parker Thompson, but he can settle in now and get ready to go to work. Very happy with the balance on the car, and he knows that he can start pushing himself forward. So Thompson back to 6th, but Malukas coming out of the carousel with a solid advantage. Now, Eric, here's the thing. These guys haven't raced for a month. Last time they were on the racetrack was the Oval at Lucas Oil Raceway back on Carb Day. It's been almost a full month since these guys have gone wheel to wheel. I'm happy they were able to get through the first couple corners cleanly.
Well, and starts here are very unique because you've got that long straightaway with that braking zone, and when you're side by side like that, these corners narrow up very quickly. It's a momentum racetrack, so you want to make sure that you're really staying clean, giving yourself some room on the start, especially into turn 1 and into turn 5 in that first lap. Once you get out of turn 5, racetrack kind of opens up a little bit as the field starts to string out, as Malukas now just on the power button up the hill already underneath the Verizon Bridge, and the rest of the field now still coming out of turn 14.
Yeah, BN Racing running first and second. I believe Toby Sowery, I think, up into the 2nd spot as they come across. Indeed, Sowery in the 2nd, but he is hanging it out. We watched them come through Canada corner, getting on the outside of the rumbles there, and man, the rear of that car kicked out. Harrison Scott putting a ton of pressure on him at this point. But again, off to a solid start here, underway in Pro Mazda. It'll be a 15-lap race. And again, drivers just settling in on the opening laps. Again, trying to get a feel for the changes they may have made to the car. You know that David Malukas is happy with the way things are now. He's out front. Malukas a 1.6 second advantage last time by. The first time they were able to come by the timing stripe there on the exit of turn 13. He'll come out of turn 5 cleanly. No more moves at this point. Parker Thompson currently running in that 6th position. His primary challengers in the championship now, Rinus VK and Carlos Cunha, just ahead of him on the racetrack. But again, now you start figuring out what kind of car you got. Are you going to bide your time? Are you waiting for a potential yellow? Again, 15 laps around this 4-mile racetrack. Long way to go for all these drivers. And the tires really not yet even up to full temperature, Eric.
No, and we saw in the first lap a much better lap for VK, just kind of settling in, but had the off in the outside of turn 1 through turn 2 towards the downhill to turn 3. In the carousel right now, this is a downhill off-camber corner. Real easy to get the car unsettled, especially if you're tapping the brake a little bit, trying to trail brake a bit. With all the aero dependency with the wings, getting the kink, you got to get there flat out. It's the only way you're going to try to catch back up to Malukas right now. You've got to try to hustle the car a bit.
When they come back around, we're going to pass there further back. There's a move. I believe that, actually that's a fight right now between Harrison Scott and Rinus VK. Not indeed a move, but they were side by side coming down into Canada corner. Scott running the inside line to defend. Of course, VK trying to see if he can't roll the outside, but he'll slot still into the 4th position. Let's give you a full field rundown as they come across. This is the way they start here, just a couple laps in. David Malukas the leader by 1.6 seconds. Actually, we'll wait for that to load up. Here it comes now. Malukas with fast lap, not surprising. Currently leading by 1.7 seconds. Pulled another 1/10 of a second on Toby Sowery, his teammate. The BN cars run first and second. Harrison Scott running in 3rd in the number 10. Rinus VK and Carlos Cunha for Juncos Racing. The number 2 and the number 1, 4th and 5th. Parker Thompson has a 1.2-second gap on Robert McGinnis in the 7th spot. McGinnis 7th, Thompson 6th. Raul Guzman, the rookie, now up into the 8th position for RP Motorsports Racing. Stingray Rob runs in 9th. Oliver Askew 10th. Andres Gutierrez in 11th. Nikita Listoshkin in 12th. Antonio Saravalli 13th. And a mechanical problem for Charles Finelli in the number 83 Fat Boy Racing entry. He is already off the track or behind the wall. So 13 drivers remain. David Malukas leading by 1.7 seconds. Drivers coming up under the bridge at the top of the hill in turn number 6. A blind corner, blind entry, left-hander. You got to trust your entry line, trust your apex to get the enough exit speed coming out of the corner. Then, of course, it's they call it turn 7, but it's not really even much of a corner. You got to believe in the car and stay on the throttle to really trust the downforce coming around that corner. Into the hurry downs by the kart track, left-hand turn into the carousel. It's a fantastic segment of the racetrack.
You know, with just about any division here that races at Road America, it's really the art of compromise. You have to find out what's fast in a straight line, but you cannot forget the mechanical grip required around some of these corners. Turn 7, one of those where you're almost hustling flat out.
Yep.
The kink as well, you're flat out through there if the car is right. And if you've got to breathe it there, that's where the passing opportunities happen at the end of these long 3 straightaways at Road America.
Yep.
The Road America Straight, the Marine Sweep, and Kettle Bottoms, which they're coming out of Kettle Bottoms in a big off there. Air underneath the tires back in the field. I believe that's maybe
with Saravalli.
Yeah. But you know, this is one of those racetracks where it is an art of compromise. You have to be able to manage the tires. You have to be able to manage the aero, that you've got enough downforce in those fast corners, but that you've got less downforce to get down these long straightaways quickly.
And we'll see that both in Pro Mazda and Indy Lights. I talked to a couple of the engineers, and it's that give-take, as you said. You start taking the aero off the car to trim it out to get the higher speeds, you're going to lose it in the corner. You slide the car in the corner a lot more, and you mentioned tire management. I know that the drivers in Indy Lights very concerned about tire management, of course, as well. They started their first practice session with a carryover set from the IndyCar GP weekend, or last race weekend. They were able to bring a carryover set that they get to use only in the opening round. Nobody in Indy Lights put fresh tires on in that opening round. Again, they'll have to do that when they go to qualifying and to get things rolling here later on today. But the best battles on the racetrack now for third, as Rinus VeeKay putting the pressure on Harrison Scott, and Parker Thompson is now reeled in Carlos Cunha. He's getting ready to go to work to try to work himself into 5th.
A great battle on top of the hill into turn 6, as well as the leaders now through hurry downs into turn 8. Again, a downhill braking, not quite as abrupt of a downhill as turn 5, but turn 7 to 8, still a downhill break, still trying to carry as much momentum center off. This is a racetrack where there's not a lot of tight corners here, but it is a rhythm racetrack. You really have to find a rhythm when you find an apex to the corner. Sometimes it's backing the corner up a little bit. What we mean by that is kind of short braking the corner and getting a better run off. These straightaways, it's so important to get corner exit speed, apex off, that sometimes you got to kind of back the corner up a little bit, you know, woe the car down a bit more before you really get back on the pedal.
A lot of young drivers want to charge a corner. They think that they need to get in the corner and really start to roll some corner speed. The guys that have been around a lot longer understand to make a straightaway longer, you don't go deeper on the one end, you start it earlier. The earlier you're on full throttle, the earlier you got power down, you'll get exponentially more top speed when you get to the end of the straightaway. I do want to welcome everyone who is tuning in live on the Mazda Road to Indy app. Rob Houghton alongside the PA voice here at the Road America facility, Eric Mueller. He knows the ins and outs of this racetrack. He's been here many, many years. What a battle we've got shaping up now. That's that fight for third position. Rinus VeeKay, again, we're 5 laps in, pretty much the third mark here. Time, it doesn't look like it's going to be an issue at this point because drivers running pretty cleanly. Looks to me like VeeKay starting to get a little impatient. He's trying to find a way by Harrison Scott, but Scott is in a place right now where he needs to fight back. He had a DNF contact with David Malukas, who pushed up into him in turn 4 at Lucas Oil Raceway. Scott knows he needs a podium, and he is fighting for his life right now with Rinus VeeKay.
Yeah, VeeKay really putting the pressure on, and as much as he wants to get moving here, just keeping the pressure on Scott. You have to look at the aspect of the aero dependency on that front wing too. If he stays there too long, he's going to start abusing those front tires. So maybe maybe it's a little bit too early to make that move. Yeah, you want to go for the podium, and VeeKay obviously wants to get get to the point trying to catch up to Malukas. But right now, if he's in a position where Scott is just fast enough, he may want to save those Cooper tires for a little bit later on in the run.
And that's a major issue, and it always is. It has been for a number of years with these open-wheel cars, with, of course, the slicks and wings, the front and rear wing. The aero wash that it has in the back of the car, the minute you pull up on somebody and you lose the air off the front wing, all of a sudden your car behind loses the front grip. So if you're in a corner like the carousel where you are essentially at the limit, the minute you get behind someone, that front end wants to wash out because you lose all the downforce on the front wing. And then again, not only do you have to get off the throttle, but as Eric said, you're starting to punish those front tires when you're sliding them on the asphalt. And one of the things about this track here, the pavement, is it's tough on tires. I love that. I like the fact that it does challenge these young drivers to really maintain, like you said, maybe stick a nose out here and there to get that front downforce you want, or pull back a little bit to get a feel. At this point, we are now 6 laps down with 9 to go.
You know, a lot of these cars, the older pavement here at Road America is a little bit more abrasive, but there are several distinct corners that do have pavement that's 2 or 3 years old now that still has an immense amount of grip. Turn 5, turn 6, turn 8, and turn 14. You have so much more grip in those corners, and you can carry a little bit more entry speed in because you know the car is going to hold. But it's the consistency of being able to hit that same racing line in some of the other corners where you don't have as much grip in the asphalt, trying to, again, the art of compromise, trying to make sure that we're getting a better corner entry to get the better exit off.
There's a mistake there further back in the field. One of the Juncos drivers has gone off the track. I'm not sure which one that was, but I believe one of the drivers off. I want to say that's right in front of Askew. That was McGinnis. Robert McGinnis goes off in turn number 5. Raul Guzman able to slide through, trying to figure out which particular trio of drivers we're watching. And indeed, McGinnis a little too deep into turn number 5, pushed out over the outside of the rumbles on the run back up to turn number 6. And that allowed Raul Guzman for RP Motorsports Racing to tuck back in the number 27. And, you know, there it is there, Eric, as well. You push, you pressure, you keep trying to keep yourself in the guy's mirrors, because if you can't get by him, you try to push him into a mistake.
Right, and it's the mental aspect of having to check the mirror every time you go down to the corner. All you got to do is show a little bit, peek a little bit, and it takes that driver's concentration for just a moment, and it's real easy to force a mistake, and rightfully so. If you're looking in the mirror all the time, you have to be very cautious to make a corner entry, because once somebody actually does look inside, you've got to give them the racing line, and so that's why that driver behind making that peak, it opens up that opportunity for a mistake.
And a corner like turn 5, I love the fact that it's a downhill braking zone. It's not your normal braking zone. Because you're downhill, you have the momentum of the car. It's a longer braking zone than normal. So if you miss that braking zone coming in, potentially like McGinnis did there, you're going to push wide. You can't get the car wound up in time. If you try to turn in, you'll either push off the track or potentially loop it as well when the rear snaps back around. Wise move by McGinnis to kind of go a little bit wider, get the braking done, and get back on the racetrack. Looks like to me McGinnis maybe trying to go back at Guzman as they come down to turn number 3 as well. Good racing here in Pro Mazda. Again, the second rung of the Mazda Road to Indy. These drivers battling it out for a chance to win the scholarship to go Indy Lights Racing in 2019.
And looking at the battle between Scott and VK, it looks like VK had backed off a little bit, got a better run into turn 5, kind of closed up about 3 or 4 car lengths. Still about 5-6 car lengths between VK and Scott, but VK struggling a little bit just trying to get around Scott. He just doesn't seem to have the pace here in this first race of the weekend.
Looking at lap times, interesting. The only 2 drivers into the 201s last time by were David Malukas and Toby Sowery. The BN Racing drivers have things dialed in here today. Harrison Scott at 202 flat, Rinus VK 202 flat, a 202.1 for Cunha, 202 flat for Thompson, and a 202.4 for Raul Guzman. Thompson's got some room, 2.2 seconds back to 7th, so Thompson, who had that rough start, fell all the way back to 6th. Now we're looking at coming into the halfway point here. Does Thompson have anything to try to get back around Carlos Cunha? Who has saved the tires? Who saved the equipment for the run to the end? That's right there, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th coming through Canada corner. A little further back there to Guzman, who runs in 7th. There's 8th, 9th, and 10th. And look at these guys hanging the back of these cars out. That is McGinnis, Askew, Gutierrez, and Robb, all within about a second and a half.
Yeah, Guzman with quite a bit of oversteer coming out of the exit to turn 12, run the rumble strips a little bit. Over in turn 12, it's not an abrupt change, but it is a little bit of a dimensional change from the racing surface to that rumble strip area. And you can get the car quite upset. You get a little bit of side bite off of these Cooper tires when they exit turn 12. The concern is if you go off of that rumble strip area beyond it, sometimes you get that sharp edge of the rumble strip and can cut down those Cooper tires. So you've got to be very careful if you are running and hanging that left rear out in that turn. You've got to be very careful not to hit the edge of the rumble strip where it's going to cut down that tire.
Great local insight from Road America's Eric Mueller here on the broadcast for the Mazda Road to Indy Pro Mazda category. I'm watching Toby Sowery. He just reset fast lap of the race about 0.2 of a second. He may be starting to reel in his teammate here. Again, same goes for Parker Thompson. He was about 0.3 quicker than Carlos Cunha last time by. So Thompson trying to reel in Cunha here. And again, you think about winning the races, but you're also thinking championship. Thompson came in with a 40-point lead. Would like to be able to get back by Carlos Cunha. They'll come out of turn number 8, over to turn 9, under the Johnsonville Bridge into that downhill off-camber carousel, one of the iconic corners here at Road America. We'll continue to look at lap times. 2:01.5 for Malukas. Sowery resets fast lap, a 2:01.3, 0.2 quicker. Cuts it down to 1.8 seconds. Toby Sowery, his debut race here in Pro Mazda. Ran the doubleheader at Barber Motorsports Park last year. A 5th place finish, I believe, in round number 2 of that event. But looking very good here for BN Racing. That team running first and second. Their best outing here in their freshman season of Pro Mazda competition.
Sowery 1.87 seconds off of Malukas' pace last time by at the start-finish line. Let's take a look at the gap here as they come across the line as well, waiting for it to refresh. And 1.87 was the gap, 1.86. So 0.06 of a second, maybe a second, 100th of a second.
Yeah, he made up 100.
Made up 100th of a second there. So you're not quite reeling in Malukas yet, but Sowery is trying to put some laps in.
Again, it's all about hitting your marks because you never know when the driver in front of you makes that one little mistake. You're trying to be 2-3 of a second faster. You drop a wheel, your competition drops a wheel and doesn't get the exit out of a corner. There's 2-3-4 of a second right there. You can never give up. You can never stop pushing. In fact, here comes, I believe, Parker Thompson to the outside of Carlos Cunha. Thompson trying to make a move on the outside of the Juncos Racing driver into turn number 5. There's second. Here comes 3rd and 4th. Does Thompson have enough going? He does. Parker Thompson is through. Book it. Thompson to the inside of turn number 5. Count him to P5.
And speaking of the Juncos racer, VK now right on the gearbox of Scott. Maybe saving the tires. We talked about lap 5. Maybe it wasn't the time to go yet. Now VK's had a couple of laps, let the tires cool off a little bit, created a little bit of a gap. Now he's starting to close the gap. Now the gap back within about 3 car lengths for VK and Scott. Scott still holding on to that final step of the podium with 9 laps complete, working lap 10 here for the Pro Mazda, presented by Cooper Tires, race at the Kohler Grand Prix of Road America.
There'll be 5 laps to go next time by. Does Parker Thompson have a car that's on the charge now, able to reel in Carlos Cunha coming down the hill to turn 3, got a great run out of 3, and had that position P5 as they got to the apex of turn 5. Does he have what it takes now to close up to Rena's VK? Thompson trying to pull away. Again, that's the key. If he can gap, I want to say half second to maybe 0.7 away from Cunha, he doesn't have to worry about getting reeled back into the draft. As they come out of turn number 14 using all the racetrack, here they come up the hill. We'll look at the laps when they come back by again. 2:01.4 for Malukas, 2:01.7 for Sowery. Malukas stretches it back out to 2.1 seconds. VK at 2:01.9, Thompson 2:01.8. He cuts a 10th into it. He's 1.4 seconds back with just 5 laps. He needs to be 2 to 3/10 of a second quicker a lap.
As fast as Malukas has been this weekend, maybe he's just toying with Sowery right now.
David has been very relaxed and focused, and it's impressive to me again. He was good here last year. Victor Franzoni was coaching him. He helped him set up the USF 2000 car last year, put the car on the pole. Back-to-back pole positions this weekend for the driver out of Chicago, Illinois. Essentially, this would be his home race. At this point, he has got a pretty solid little advantage over his teammate Sowery. Give it up for both drivers. This weekend, the first career pole position for Malukas. He wants to do the double and make it a first career win in the Mazda Road to Indy as well. He's had a couple of rough runs. He got together with Harrison Scott on the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway. And indeed, a win here could try to put him back potentially into the top 5 in points.
Still a pretty big gap from VK back to Thompson, but it looks like Thompson's slowly chipping away. Running in 5th right now, trying to chip away at 4th. Rinus VK still has not been able to put absolute pressure on Scott at this point.
Well, again, we'll watch lap times, we'll watch gaps. Those are the leaders coming out of Canada corner. Toby Sowery still up on the wheel. Now all it takes is a little miscue coming down in here. You see how tail happy these cars are, Eric. They were trying to get that car to rotate on the exit so much, pushing so hard to work themselves out of that corner and get back on the throttle early. Again, we'll wait for the lap times. It's going to be 11 laps down, 4 to go this time by, I believe. Live timing tells me 10 laps to go. It's saying 11 on the screen, but live timing says 10 laps in. I'm going to stick with live timing at this point here. 10 laps on live timing, 1.4 seconds the gap. Look at Malukas. He fell off by about a half a second. Toby Sowery's back to within 1.4. And in fact, Parker Thompson another 0.2 of a second quicker. He knows he's catching it. He's not in the draft yet on Rinus VK. This could get interesting for 4th position. Scott still holding a decent advantage of about 0.8 of a second on VK. VK is going to have to start thinking about Parker Thompson pretty soon. But indeed, Toby Sowery out of turn 5 up to turn 6, Eric, the gap is shrinking.
And slowly but surely, but Malukas may certainly be backing off just a little bit, just trying to save a little bit of those Cooper tires too. He's got enough of a lead. Now, you don't have to push it to the point of damaging the car. So maybe at this point, just settling in, knowing you've got a pretty big gap, minding your P's and Q's, just trying to get to the end of this thing now.
Well, that's a 1.4 second advantage, right? So he has to maintain that. That's all he's got to do is maintain it. His engineer and strategist may have been on the radio saying, hey, let's cool the tires down a little bit. Backed it off about a half a second. Knows that we're still on this run with 5 to go to get to the end. Malukas, Sowery, Scott, VK, and Thompson, your top 5. Cunha, Guzman, McGinnis, Askew, and Gutierrez complete the top 10. One driver out early. That was Charles Finelli for Fat Boy Racing, a mechanical issue early on. Of course, they'll be back again tomorrow. Pro Mazda running their second race of this doubleheader at 2:05 tomorrow afternoon.
Cervelli running in the 13th spot, had a little bit of an agricultural adventure on the exit at 12 earlier. Kind of settling into the 13th spot, final place in the running order on track. And a lot of track limit extensions here throughout the course of the weekend. We talked about that. Greg Creamer and I did during the sports car practice earlier this afternoon. But talking about the track limits here, there's a lot of runoff area that can help you, and there's a lot of runoff area that can hurt you. Turn 14 is one of those where it's a flip a coin, and 4 wheels offline. On the extension of that runoff area in turn 14 usually can give you a lot more momentum on the corner exit.
I'm not more concerned, but more focused on the fact that Parker Thompson was a half a second faster than Rinus VK that last time by. Thompson now less than 0.7 of a second back on Rinus VK. That's within the draft. He'll get the pull coming up the straightaway. Parker Thompson, good run out of turn 3. Here come the leaders down to turn number 5 again. Malukas, your leader. Sowery not that far back. Here comes third place driver Harrison Scott into the field division. We'll lose him as we come back up over to turn number 6 here. Thompson and VK about ready to battle it out. They run first and second in the championship. Look how close they are now.
3 car lengths now separating those two. We talked about how VK was kind of backing off with Scott, and now he is backed right to the front wing of Parker Thompson now as they work through hurry downs into turn 8. That left hill downhand braking again. Not as abrupt as 5, but it's still downhill. Hurry downs. It's a much faster right-hand corner, which sets you up on entry into the carousel, which is all momentum downhill off camber.
Thompson keeps it really tight to the inside of the carousel to make sure he's got enough air on the front wing to get that good run out through the kink and down into cattle bottoms. Indeed, Parker Thompson is right there to within 2 cart lengths coming down to the bottom part of this racetrack. It swerves and tugs its way all the way over to Canada corner. It'll be VK to the inside. Thompson to the outside. Out braking into turn number 6. They're side by side coming through. Out on a little bit of contact out onto the wall. Over top of the grass. Side by side coming through there. VK gave him no room into that quarter. Thompson didn't let up. Back up on top of the hill here. VK holds on to the spot, but it is gloves off here, Eric Mueller. We are going at it with about 3 laps to go here in Pro Mazda.
I imagine race control may not be too happy with the squeeze play, but indeed, it's on. Parker Thompson was there. VK just trying to do everything he can to hold him off at this point.
That great shot of coming down the kettle bottoms as it kind of weaves back and forth. You can see that Thompson got a great run. VK blocked to the inside to run that defensive line, which is his call. Thompson went to the outside, wasn't quite far enough in to get the car around to have the exit point. And all that VK did was kind of let the car drift out a little bit. And, of course, Parker right out over the rumbles, kept the throttle down, 4 wheels up over the grass. And, again, he'll try to get that run down the back straight, or rather the straightaway between turns 3 and 5. Leaders coming in again. Thompson will try to set it all back up. This time into the turn 5 braking zone. Can we lose him? No. Looking over the hill there, Thompson not quite there. This has allowed Carlos Cunha to come back into the fight as well from P6.
Sauer got the lead for Malukas back down to 1.8 seconds. Again, not sure if Malukas is just minding the tires right now as we come with 3 laps to go.
They've really updated on the screen as well. So indeed, 3 laps left to go. Now my concern, I wonder if Thompson's got the same thing. That was a pretty rough ride on the exit of turn number 12. You know, did he damage the car at all? Is there any kind of suspension damage whatsoever? We'll see if he's able to mount another challenge. But again, as you said, Sauer 1.8 back. Malukas doing a pretty good job out front here.
You know, these PM18 cars are pretty durable cars, but still a heavy wheel-to-wheel contact like that, still even a high end, rod end bending on the suspension components could just affect. You wouldn't think that a millimeter affects the depth of motion for that suspension, but it certainly does, and it certainly could compromise just enough to slow Thompson down, which Thompson trying to put the pressure on, just 3 car lengths behind VK again as we come to 2 laps to go at the start-finish line.
That was a great look as they came through turn number 13 and 14. Here they come back up the hill. Thompson's right there. Cunha trying to come up as well. Parker Thompson in the draft. He's about 3 car lengths back as we come down past start-finish. Thompson going to take a look to the inside of 1. He'll go to the inside of the racetrack. No, tucks back in. But Thompson, close enough here now. This is the final couple of laps. 2 to go here in Pro Mazda. The BN Racing Team, stellar. Here they go into turn number 3 as well. Down the hill. Thompson all over him. Carlos Cunha ready to be part of the action. Here's that run again down to turn number 5. Thompson side by side. Coming down the straightaway into the Sargento Bridge. It's VK on the inside. Thompson on the outside. They'll come into the braking zone at turn number 5. Scott will be the first driver through. Who's it going to be into turn number 5? Side by side. Here comes Cunha. He's going to get a run up the hill on Thompson. Cunha's going to go into P5. Thompson back to 6th. No, side by side coming out of turn 6. Eric Mueller.
Great battle.
Tremendous racing.
Great battle into turn 7. Again, another braking zone, but Thompson relegated back to 6th. Cunha coming. I would not be surprised with coming to the white flag if Cunha tries to get around VK here.
Here's the thing. Those are the 3 drivers running 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in points. Thompson, Cunha, and VK. So Thompson just lost that spot there. That's going to allow both of these drivers to close up. Now, Parker's a champion. He's trying to win this, or at least win the position. One driver dropping a wheel coming out of turn number, what's that, turn 10?
That would be the exit to the carousel,
Yep.
and that looks like it may have been Cunha who dropped the wheel off as Thompson looks back to the inside.
Thompson going to the inside, but it'll be the outside for Canada Corner. He's got Cunha. He's got him. Yeah, he's passed him already through. Parker Thompson rolled in the number 90 exclusive Autosports Tatis. He wants to go back at it with 1 more lap to go. Parker Thompson making things exciting. He will not extend his win streak to 3 victorious at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Grand Prix, and he won the Freedom 90 as well at Lucas Oil Raceway. He's not going to win here today, but he's trying to get himself back up into that 4th position to try to get by Rinus VK. Look at the lead for David Malukas, the driver out of Chicago. Nice gap. Parker Thompson's going to go to work here, though. He's quite a ways back. It was almost a full second. I'm going to say that Parker would say, hey, you know what? I took a shot at it. I lost a spot and gained it back. Because, honestly, it would have been disastrous to lose 2 positions essentially. They're not able to get 4th, but then fall into 6th.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do is fall in the clutches of your championship contenders as well. Trying to mind the distance at this point with the points. This is race 1. We've got another race yet this weekend, so keep the car in one piece. Take what you can get out of this race 1 here at this Kohler Grand Prix weekend at Road America for the Pro Mazda presented by Cooper Tires.
Yeah, agreed, Eric. You got to run smart, and I like what Parker Thompson was doing there. Getting by Rinus VeeKay would have extended his championship lead because VeeKay and Cunha, the 2 drivers behind him immediately. This is going to help David Malukas for sure. Let's put some kudos onto him now. What a day it's been so far, as David Malukas with a 1.6 second lead ahead of his teammate. Little loose coming out of the carousel there for VeeKay. Let's go back to that battle, because you get loose coming out of the carousel, Eric, you've lost a big run down to Canada Corner.
Well, it's easy to get a little loose there as it's downhill off camber, as we said, but he was a little bit offline, kind of going into the marbles a little bit, so kicking up a little bit of debris on the left rear of that car. That really hurts your top end speed going through the kink down to Canada.
Here comes the leader of the race. Final lap. Checker flag will fly. Paul Blevins has got it here at start-finish at Road America. Race number 1, the winner, his first ever Mazda Road to Indy victory. Twin checkers are out. Victorious is David Malukas for BN Racing. It's a 1-2 for that team. Malukas P1, Toby Sowery in second. Here's the battle for third. Excellent run for Harrison Scott. Parker Thompson able to get by Rinus VeeKay on the final lap. Thompson goes to 4th and will extend his championship lead. Parker Thompson 4th over Rinus VeeKay. Carlos Cunha comes in 6th. Raul Guzman in 7th. Robert McGinnis, I believe, coming home in the 8th spot. Indeed, Oliver Askew in 9th. And Andres Gutierrez in 10th.
David Malukas coming home, sort of, here to Road America this weekend. Pole to the win, domination. Tell me about that race.
Yeah, so it was a kind of big difference from last year. It's almost last year I did 50% of it, getting it on pole for the USF 2000, but didn't really end up getting the win. So it was kind of more like a revenge. It just took a year. We finished every single position, 4th, 5th. We crashed. We had everything but a pole. So finally, we ended up winning. It's just like it's such a big relief for the team and everything. So I feel like this was kind of like our little bit of a curse almost. So now that I feel like we got it out of the way, I feel like now it's just going to be, easy on from here on out.
He's got the winner's hat. Mazda Road to Indy at Road America, first place on the back. Congratulations, you're a winner on the Road to Indy.
Thank you so much. Yeah.